scary story. The sun was setting over the countryside, casting long shadows over the rolling hills and the dense woods. A faint mist was rising from the ground, creating a hazy atmosphere that blurred the outlines of the landscape. In the distance, a solitary manor stood on a hilltop, overlooking the valley below. Its windows were dark, and its walls were crumbling, giving it an air of decay and neglect. It looked like a place that had been forgotten by time and shunned by the living. But not by everyone. A group of 5 friends had decided to explore the manor, driven by curiosity and a sense of adventure. They had heard the stories about the manor, the tales of unexplained disappearances and ghostly sightings that had plagued its history. They had also heard the rumors of a hidden treasure, a legacy of a wealthy and eccentric family that had once owned the place. They wanted to see for themselves what secrets the manor held and perhaps find something valuable along the way. They parked their car at the foot of the hill and began to climb the winding path that led to the manor. They carried flashlights, backpacks, and a camera ready to document their expedition. They were not afraid of the dark or the unknown. They were excited and eager to discover what awaited them inside the manor. They reached the iron gate that surrounded the manor and found it unlocked. They pushed it open and entered the grounds, walking towards the imposing front door. They noticed the overgrown garden, the broken statues, and a dried fountain, signs of the manor's decline and abandonment. They felt a chill in the air, but they shrugged it off as the effect of the evening breeze. They reached the door and tried to open it, but it was locked. They looked for another way in and found a window that was slightly ajar. They pried it open and climbed inside, landing in a dusty and dimly lit hallway. They turned on their flashlights and looked around, seeing the faded wallpaper, the cracked paintings, and the cobweb-covered chandeliers. They felt a sense of awe and wonder, mixed with a hint of apprehension. They had entered a place that was frozen in time, a place that had secrets to reveal. The group consisted of 5 friends, each with their own reasons for embarking on this perilous journey. Sarah, the adventurous spirit, led the group with unwavering determination. She was always looking for new challenges and experiences, and the manor was the perfect opportunity for her. She wanted to explore every corner of the place and find out what mysteries it hid. She was not afraid of anything. She was fearless and bold. Mark, the skeptic, joined in search of evidence to debunk the supernatural rumors. He was a rational and logical person who did not believe in ghosts or curses. He thought the stories about the manor were just superstitions and legends, and he wanted to prove it. He brought his camera and his notebook, ready to document and analyze everything he saw. He was not scared of anything. He was confident and smart. Emily, the empathetic soul, hoped to communicate with any lingering spirits. She was a sensitive and compassionate person who believed in the existence of the paranormal. She thought the manor was haunted by the souls of its former inhabitants, and she wanted to help them. She brought her pendulum and her recorder, ready to sense and record any messages from the other side. She was not afraid of anything. She was gentle and kind. Alex, the thrill-seeker, sought adrenaline-fueled excitement. He was a restless and energetic person who loved to have fun and take risks. He thought the manor was a great place to have an adventure, and he wanted to enjoy it. He brought his knife and his lighter, ready to use them if needed. He was not afraid of anything. He was daring and wild. And finally, David, the historian, aimed to uncover the truth buried within the manor's walls. He was a curious and knowledgeable person who had a passion for history and culture. He thought the manor was a treasure trove of information, and he wanted to learn from it. He brought his books and his magnifying glass, ready to examine and identify everything he found. He was not afraid of anything. He was inquisitive and wise. As they stepped foot inside the dilapidated manor, an eerie chill permeated the air, sending shivers down their spines. They navigated through dimly lit corridors, their footsteps echoing ominously against the decaying floorboards. Strange whispers seemed to follow them, growing louder with each passing moment. They decided to split up and explore different parts of the manor, agreeing to meet up later at the main hall. They each went their own way, following their instincts and interests. Sarah headed to the upper floor, where she hoped to find the bedrooms and the library. She wanted to see how the people who lived in the manor slept and read, and what secrets they kept in their personal spaces. She climbed the creaking stairs, ignoring the faint moans and cries that she heard along the way. She reached the landing and saw a long hallway with several doors on both sides. She chose one at random and opened it, entering a dark and dusty room. She turned on her flashlight and scanned the room, seeing a large bed with a canopy, a wardrobe, a dresser, and a fireplace. She walked towards the bed and pulled back the curtains, revealing a skeleton lying on the mattress, dressed in a tattered gown and a pearl necklace. She gasped and jumped back, dropping her flashlight. She heard a loud thud and saw the door slam shut behind her. She ran towards it and tried to open it, but it was locked. She banged on it and screamed for help, but no one answered. She was trapped in the room with the skeleton, and she felt a cold hand touch her shoulder. Mark headed to the basement, where he hoped to find the cellar and the vault. He wanted to see what the people who lived in the manor stored and hid, and what evidence he could find to disprove the supernatural claims. He descended the stone steps, ignoring the foul smell and the dripping water that he encountered along the way. He reached the bottom and saw a narrow passage with a wooden door at the end. He walked towards it and opened it, entering a dark and damp room. He turned on his flashlight and scanned the room, seeing rows of shelves filled with bottles, barrels, and boxes. He walked towards the shelves and inspected them, finding wine, whiskey, and other alcoholic beverages. He also found some food, such as cheese, bread, and meat, but they were all rotten and moldy. He moved on to the barrels and boxes, hoping to find something more interesting. He opened one of the barrels and saw a pile of bones, some of them human. He opened one of the boxes and saw a severed head with a look of horror on its face. He recoiled and dropped his flashlight. He heard a loud click and saw the door lock itself behind him. He ran towards it and tried to open it, but it was stuck. He kicked it and shouted for help. No one heard him. He was trapped in the room with the bones and the head, and he felt a sharp pain in his leg. Emily headed to the attic, where she hoped to find the nursery and the playroom. She wanted to see how the children who lived in the manor played and learned, and what messages they had for her. She climbed the wooden ladder, ignoring the scratching and squeaking that she heard along the way. She reached the top and saw a small hatch with a latch. She opened it and entered a dark and dusty room. She turned on her flashlight and scanned the room, seeing a crib, a rocking horse, a dollhouse, and a toy chest. She walked towards the crib and looked inside, finding a ragged doll with a missing eye and a stitched mouth. She picked it up and held it close to her, feeling a connection with it. She whispered to it and asked it if it had anything to say to her. She heard a faint voice in her ear saying, "Help me." She smiled and nodded, promising to help. She heard a loud snap and saw the hatch close itself behind her. She walked towards it and tried to open it, but it was sealed. She pushed it and called for help. No one came. She was trapped in the room with the doll, and she felt a warm breath on her neck. Alex headed to the backyard, where he hoped to find the garden and the pond. He wanted to see how the people who lived in the manor relaxed and enjoyed, and what fun he could have there. He walked through the back door, ignoring the rustling and hissing that he heard along the way. He reached the outside and saw a large area with a fence, a fountain, and a bridge. He walked towards the fence and looked beyond it, seeing a dense forest with a path. He decided to follow it, hoping to find something exciting. He climbed over the fence and entered the forest, leaving his backpack behind. He walked along the path, feeling the fresh air and the natural beauty. He saw birds, squirrels, and rabbits, and he chased them for fun. He also saw flowers, mushrooms, and berries, and he picked some of them and tasted them, finding them sweet and juicy. He felt a surge of energy and happiness, and he continued to explore the forest. He reached a clearing and saw a pond with a wooden bridge. He walked towards it and crossed the bridge, seeing fish and frogs in the water. He decided to take a dip, hoping to cool off and have some fun. He stripped off his clothes and jumped into the pond, feeling the cold and refreshing water. He swam and splashed around, laughing and enjoying himself. He heard a loud splash and saw a huge snake emerge from the water, coiling around him. He screamed and struggled, but it was too late. He was trapped in the pond with the snake, and he felt a venomous bite on his chest. David headed to the study, where he hoped to find the office and the library. He wanted to see how the people who lived in the manor worked and learned, and what knowledge they had accumulated. He walked through the main hall, ignoring the creaking and groaning that he heard along the way. He reached the door and opened it, entering a dark and dusty room. He turned on his flashlight and scanned the room, seeing a large desk, a bookcase, a fireplace, and a safe. He walked towards the desk and looked at it, finding papers, pens, and a diary. He opened the diary and read it, finding entries dating back to the 18th century. He learned that the manor belonged to the Devereux family, a noble and wealthy lineage that had a dark and twisted history. He read about their involvement in occult practices, human sacrifices, and demonic pacts. He read about their obsession with immortality, power, and wealth. He read about their downfall, their curse, and their fate. He was fascinated and horrified by what he read, and he wanted to know more. He heard a loud clang and saw the door slam shut behind him. He walked towards it and tried to open it, but it was locked. He pulled it and yelled for help, but no one responded. He was trapped in the room with the diary, and he felt a hot breath on his face. The group had entered the manor with different motives and expectations, but they all ended up in the same situation. They were trapped in rooms with no escape, facing their worst nightmares. They realized too late that the manor was not a place of curiosity and adventure, but a place of horror and death. They had fallen victim to the manor's secrets, secrets that were better left undiscovered. As they screamed and suffered, they heard a voice in their heads, a voice that sounded ancient and evil. It was the voice of the manor, the voice of the Devereux family, the voice of the curse. It said, "Welcome to the Manor of Secrets, where your curiosity will be rewarded with pain. You came here looking for answers, but you will only find despair. You came here looking for treasure, but you will only find terror. You came here looking for fun, but you will only find fear. You came here looking for help, but you will only find hell. You came here looking for life, but you will only find death. You are now part of the manor, part of the family, part of the curse. You will never leave. You will never rest. You will never forget. You will suffer for eternity, as we have suffered. This is your fate. This is your doom. This is your secret.